What's up, everyone? Welcome back. I'm Wayne Gerard. Today we're going to be taking a little preview. Sassuolo Roma. It's Roma's last chance to get 2 in a row. Some momentum heading into the World Cup break.
If you like my video, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Thanks.
It's the last away fixture for Roma as they get ready for the World Cup break. They want to get some serious momentum on their side. Can they do it against Sassuolo? They've been a little bit of a tricky team. However, they are really dropping in the standings. Hasn't been so good for the Nero Verdi. Roma can make it 5 away wins. This would be the first time they have done so since the 2017-18 season. Meanwhile, Sassuolo just lost away to Empoli, Alessio Dionisi's old squad. Not such a good look for him. And right before that, they got drilled 4-0 away to Napoli. I won't hold that one against them too much. The match previous to that was against Verona, lowly Verona, where they won. But the previous two, right before that, it was a loss away to Atalanta and then a home loss against Inter Milan. That means in the last 5 matches, Sassuolo have lost 4 out of 5. They've let in 9 goals during that time, leaking them in. I know Dionisi is a manager who really likes to build out from the back, create scoring opportunities like his predecessor, De Zerbi, did. However, I think that he's been a little bit unlucky with these injuries. However, sometimes you just got to figure out solutions. That's why managers make the money that they do. But they haven't scored a goal since that Verona match, which is October 24th. That was from Lauriente and Davide Frattesi. They now sit in the 13th position in Serie A. And, like I said, Dionisi losing against his former club. This must be lighting a fire under him, igniting something. So I'm not so confident that this is going to be an easy match for the Giallorossi. I think it's going to be anything but. Sassuolo are looking to preserve their season, get back right to like the 8th to 10th spot is where I think that they really feel comfortable. There's some good luck on the side for Dionisio as Traore returns from injury. He was an impact player for Sassuolo last season, accumulating 7 goals and 2 assists. Definitely an exciting player on the left flank there. He's somebody that they brought in as they knew that Boga was going to be sold eventually. However, Berardi is still out after his monstrous season in the 2021-22 year there. He had 15 goals and 14 assists last season. That was a phenomenal campaign. I remember him being the first player in Europe's top 5 leagues to hit 10 goals and 10 assists. Pinamonti, however, hasn't gotten off to a good start, coming over, trying to replace Scamacca. Not going all that well. His last goal came in the 5-0 win against Salernitana, but previous to that, you have to go all the way back to Spezia, which was at the end of August. De Frel is also out, a player we remember for a not so successful time in Rome. So Dionisi definitely has his hands full here. But for Roma, Lorenzo Pellegrini is out with a thigh injury. He'll be out until the 2023 year, along with Spinazzola, Dybala, and of course, Wijnaldum. There are some interesting players to watch, some that I'm sure you're familiar with. The first one being Davide Frattesi. He is Sassuolo's top scorer with 4 goals right now, and everyone knows how close he was to Roma this past summer. There were expectations that he was going to be brought in. I think that was a bit depressing for Mourinho when he didn't. He can dribble out of pressure. He's fast, dynamic, knows how to score goals. Really intelligent player, Frattesi, and he's been having a really good season so far. And I wonder how he's going to enter this match psychologically. The other is Armand Lauriente, a winger I really, really like. He played for a team, Rennes, which wasn't doing so good in France last year. They just avoided relegation. But he returns from suspension, super exciting. He could play the 1-2s, has a beautiful touch on the ball, not afraid to dribble, one who combines very well and can shoot from just about any angle, Lauriente there. The last one is Christian Thorstvedt, 23-year-old Norwegian. He comes over from Genk, and with his big size, he brings the power. He could be a handful to deal with through Roma's center. A player good at finding the right spot, can hold off the opposition, and isn't afraid to crash inside the box. Very capable center midfielder that Sassuolo will have on their hands here. Some more fun stats. Andrea Belotti. He's yet to score this season for Roma in the league, but he has struck 9 times in 13 previous appearances against Sassuolo. Meanwhile, Pinamonti has scored 3 Serie A goals against Roma. That makes him the most productive opposition of his top flight career. So Pinamonti has a thing for Roma. Time to get to the Mourinho interview. Okay, he's first asked. This is a lengthy one. I'm not going to go through every question. You can see it on asroma.com for the full transcript. It's quite long, but I have a couple picked out here that I want to go through. A reporter asks him first here, what response are you expecting from your players tomorrow? And considering Lorenzo Pellegrini is now injured, could Christian Volpato replace him in the starting lineup? What do you make of his decision to decline Australia's call-up for the World Cup? Mourinho answers, Volpato could play tomorrow, but the only player I will confirm is starting is Ibanez. The side for tomorrow will be Ibanez and 10 others. This is what I like from Mourinho, defending his players, because you know that they're trying to dig a little bit and get that out of him. And he just says, first thing, I'm going to tell you that Ibanez is playing. He continues, in terms of Volpato's decision with the national team, first and foremost, that is a personal decision and not a club matter. As a coach, I would refuse to get involved with something like that. But what I understand is that this is just the start of his career. And the fact that he is developing here at Roma and playing more minutes, playing in successive games, unlike last season where he played against Verona, and that was basically it, means that he is currently in a development phase where he needs to focus on building his future and not on certain decisions that perhaps others want to bring forward to speed up a process that should not be sped up. One thing that I have liked so far about Mourinho, a year and a half at this point, is that he's forced, but he's also bringing up these young players and making sure that they don't feel too much pressure, letting them develop at the speed, uses the word speed, that is necessary to keep them calm and take the weight off of them so that they do have a better chance for success. Then the reporter goes, to go back to the subject of Roger Ibanez, and Mourinho cuts him off and says, there's nothing to return to. I've already spoken about him. Tomorrow it's Ibanez and 10 others. Beyond what your question might be, that's the answer. I have a lot of respect for someone that, from the first day I got here, has given everything he has. And on more than one occasion, even when he has had a few issues. Last year, we went through a spell where he was the only central defender, with Smalling injured and Mancini and Kumbulla suspended. He was there every single game. When we went to Sevilla to face Real Betis earlier in the season, the morning of the game, I saw him and thought it was going to be impossible for him to play. And yet he played. He's one who always fronts up, meaning like he always shows up to play. He always, gives his all and tries to be there for the team. He continues here. When we win, we all win together. When we lose, we all lose together. For me, he is untouchable. There is nothing more to be said. I think it helps that I hardly read the newspapers and never check social media, because other than my Instagram, where I publish nonsense just for fun and a few laughs, I don't read anything. That helps me. But he is untouchable in my opinion. Tomorrow it will be him and 10 others. A reporter asks a couple more here. I've got 3 more questions. He says, is there any explanation for why Roma currently have a better record on the road than at the Olimpico this season? And he says, at home there have been 3 games where we have not scored. Napoli, Atalanta, and Lazio. I can have a little cry now, can't I? The other coaches just cry, and I never do it. So I need to be allowed to do it occasionally too. All 3 of these games took place without our most creative player, Dybala, who has scored the most goals, created the most from set pieces, and has the most vision on the pitch. The player who knows how to unlock a deep-sitting defense, just like how Atalanta played that day. Excellent answer there. He's then asked, are you pleased with the way individual players have progressed since the final in Tirana? It seems like some, Smalling aside, have not really kicked in. And he answers, I'm not completely in agreement with you. I think Mancini is doing better this year than last season. He's more balanced and controlled on the pitch and is getting fewer yellow cards now. He says, I also think Ibanez, other than that mistake in the last game, has been much more consistent. I think there is something that has had a general influence on things. We lost 3 midfielders since Tirana. 3. And all 3 of those that you could call starters. Mkhitaryan, Beretut, and Oliveira. I'm going to skip a couple of his comments further in this question. He continues further here. He says, but I am crying a lot now, and I don't like to cry so much. I prefer to say, okay, with all these issues have opened doors for others, to Volpato last year, to Zalewski as well, and over time to Eduardo Bove too. And I will tell you now, so it's not a surprise, that Benjamin Tahirovic will get his chance soon enough, and it might even be by starting a game, because I've seen him improve a lot since he started training with us. We're looking at things in a positive light. Tahirovic, interesting player, big center mid, physical, likes to take the ball up through the center of the pitch, isn't afraid to shoot from long range, comes over last year from a Swedish team, and big kid. I would really like to see him get a start here And I like to see Mourinho suggesting that. Are you thinking about changing the formation at all? The journalist asks, perhaps even tomorrow. You have just said that Nemanja Matic and Cristante are not a pairing you had in mind. So why did Kamara come off during the derby? There's a few other questions here that I'm skipping over before I answer this. Just want to let you know if you do want to read the full interview. He says, good question, because Wijnaldum wasn't there, because Mkhitaryan wasn't there. You play with what you have. Unfortunately, we do not have too many players, and when we have issues within the squad, we run into more difficulties. That's it. The shape is not down to me. It's down to the players and the characteristics that they have. So that is a characteristics of a top manager, is when you have certain players based upon who they are, you make the formation and how it works around their profiles, around what they could bring, and not just, oh, I have this way that I play, and no matter the players that I have at my disposal, it has to be like that. This is a characteristics of great managers. You've seen Spalletti do it. You've seen Mourinho do it. Guardiola at times has done this. So maybe not so much Guardiola. He definitely has a way of playing, but he's somebody who can invent on the pitch, and that is one thing I think that sets aside from someone like Gasperini. Let's take a system manager, played one way up until very recently. He's played that way for Atalanta for 5 years, and no matter who he had, he forced them in that. Ultimately, he doesn't come away with the Scudetto, but that's a very good manager. Is he elite though, like guys like Mourinho and Spalletti? I don't think so. I think he gets the most that he can out of those players, and there has to be something to be said for that. But if you put this guy on Real Madrid or one of the elite level teams, it might not work so harmoniously as it does in Bergamo. Let's get to the possible starting lineups. For Sassuolo, we're looking at Consigli, Toljan, Erlic, Ferrari, and Rogerio. Rogerio, Brazilian outside back. Interesting, good quality player there. In midfield, Frattesi, Lopez, Thorstvedt, Maxime Lopez, one of my favorite players. Up top, Lauriente, Pinamonti, and Traore. That will definitely be the front three. I'm certain of that. Meanwhile, Roma goes Mancini, Smalling, Vina with Patricio in net. Zalewski, Cristante, Matic, Shaarawy. I have to agree that Shaarawy gets to start here because of the proximity that Roma just played against Lazio. There hasn't been enough time, I don't think, for Karsdorp probably to rest up, and for Selic, I don't think he has 90 minutes in him yet. So I do believe that Zalewski will start on the right and Shaarawy on the left. Volpato, Zaniolo, Belotti. How do I feel about this? Volpato getting the start? Maybe 50-50. I don't know what other options that Roma really has if you were to take Volpato out, though, with Pellegrini out. It's a good one, though. And I think that this should be the starting trident. Zaniolo on the right, Volpato left, roaming, and Belotti at center forward. Belotti needs to score a goal, plain and simple. He needs to get something under him, because otherwise, if he goes into the break, it's not a good look for him. It's not great. He's got to get something. He's too quality of a player to not have any league goals yet. But with Sassuolo being a team that he loves to score against, not so bad. Once again, I'll read this off. Yet to score in the league for Roma, but has struck 9 times in 13 previous top flight meetings with Sassuolo. Let me know what you think. Also, check out that Mourinho interview, like I mentioned before, the full one. Extensive. It's a very good read. And I have to imagine Roma comes away with a win. I don't think that they can accept anything other than that. They have to go to Sassuolo looking to inflict some serious pain and damage. I believe that Roma will overcome this stump, this roadblock right now, this problem. And it stinks, of course, not making an excuse, but Lazio had 2 of their best players out, as did Roma. You take away Wijnaldum, who, even though we have seen very little of him, is definitely Roma's best midfielder, most impact player there, and Dybala. And it's even, unfortunately, of course, I'm still talking about it, which means I'm not over it yet, is that just comes down to a mistake, and you got to get back on your feet. And what better way than a win away at Sassuolo? Let me know what you think. Comment, likes, all that good stuff. Talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.